we're starting in the middle, by the way, but I think you'll figure it out. Good people, normal people, didn't want this. A respectable woman wouldn't tremble as a rough-bearded man drew knife edge gently up her ribs. Not this kind of trembling, the kind that arched her back up to meet the sharp danger, that lifted the underside of her bare breast in desperate hope of the bite of the tip of the knife. A proper wife and mother wouldn't be making whimpering, soft ways from her lipstick-red mouth as the fear of the cut mingled with the desperate, joyful need to feel the diamond-slick edge pressing into her flesh. A sane, careful, independently successful feminist would not be writhing her hot cunt against this scruffy man with the blade that made the click. Would she? Tori would. Tori did. As he played with the edge and the point against curved breast and textured nipple, the occasional click of the blade meeting her steel barbell, an echo of that first unbearable sound of metal falling into place. He barely moved, but he seemed to drink in every subtle retreat and advance of her body, letting her own need break itself again and again, caught upon a savage reef of desire. She ground her hips against him with unconscious urgency, her focus continuously on the blade as it traveled her flesh. He drew abstract patterns all around her breast and across it, varying feather touch with remorseless driving strokes of the point against the delicate membrane of her skin. Again and again she felt he would break through, pierce, and cut into the softness. And a part of her wanted it, wanted to be part of that blood ritual, a sacrificial lamb on the altar of lust. Run, her mind said again, but it was hard to hear it with the rush of static filling her head, and it grew louder until the knife dipped to the waistband of her skirt and pushed under. Then her mind found a weakness and tried to ruin it all. "I'm difficult," she told him in one of their frank conversations about sex. "It's like Ringo sang, I don't come easy." This is what she thought of as she felt him shift, letting her skirt drop around her ankles. Her mind reminded her of the many ways she tried, from virtuosic lesbian fingers to drug-reinforced cocks to self-prescribed Hitachi and porn. It wasn't that it never happened, it was just that she came so rarely. Her mind chattered like a monkey, a mantra of disappointment and frustration and irreproducible results. See the science. Even as his blade drew up along the outside of her hip, now bare, sending a susurrus of tingles across her leg. "He'll be disappointed if you don't come for him," the mind chattered. "He's not letting you distract him with your cock-sucking, ass-fucking, eerily slutful ways. He's watching your desire, Tori, and he's going to want you to come, Tori, and you're going to let him down." The monkey voices grew louder, overcoming the wanton static in her brain with an awful thud against a bruised insecurity, and it forced her eyes open to see his inches away. There was something in that gaze that stopped her mind's guilty diatribe mid-syllable, that froze her thought process as effectively as his body had pinned her against the cement wall here in the deserted park. Then his eyes disappeared as he moved down, one knee on the ground. The sudden release of pressure against her chest flooded her with easy oxygen, and through the head rush she realized what it had been in the gaze that had shut her mind up. She stood there, physically released but not moving, and wanted to laugh in the midst of all the gasping desire. He didn't care. She understood now why he'd laughed when she told him she was difficult. "That's okay, Tori," he said with a mischievous smile. "If I ever end up between your legs, it won't be about you, dear. It'll be about me." At the time, it had seemed strangely out of character from her thoughtful friend, but now she understood. This was not about her coming, or about his cock, or about her cunt, or even her nipples still hard and burning as she stood against that cement wall. This was about her body and his knife. This was not about orgasm. This was about prey and play. This was about that click. He was barely touching her, only his thumb and forefinger, in fact, one to each side of her lips, pushing in and spreading, and she felt the cool air caress her slick lips as they opened. He still had her pinned, and she knew it, her head dizzy with the ease of breath as she gasped, knowing the knife was now down there. That knowledge kept her hips from bucking, kept her hands at her sides instead of tangling in his thick hair and pulling his mouth into her cunt. She could feel the feathery strokes of the tip against her thigh, just over her knee, then on the other, cajoling them to spread, open just a little more for him. Standing there in the moonlight, naked, Tori felt open, alive, beyond the threat of the knife, not because she didn't fear it, but because she embraced it. Closing her eyes, head back against the wall, she felt her body glowing as he traced blade edges of electric joy across her skin. The chill of the night air covered her, except where the point of the knife met her skin, and there it burned. As she breathed out, she felt his hand press in on either side of her cunt, spreading the lips wider for a moment, then letting them close over her clit as she inhaled. He matched her breathing, pressing hard, opening and closing, the hood sliding back and then covering the throbbing nub again and again. Meanwhile, the knife continued a slow, meandering path up her thigh, and Tori gasped as she realized where it was leading. No, he wouldn't, her mind gibbered, even as a deeper part of her said, yes, he must. The world around her crumbled away, reduced to the small triangle between his thumb, forefinger, and her clit, pushing in and out in eager anticipation. Somewhere out in the dark night was a blade that clicked, moving in tangential orbits across the firmament of her body, drawn in by the gravity of desire towards a point of contact filled with wanton fear and trembling need. The point of the knife reached the upper swell of her hip as he drew it downwards slowly, letting the sharp weight caress her shaking body. She was gasping now, and he no longer opened and closed her lips, just spread her labia wide, letting the engorged head of her clit shine in the moonlight as his blade drew closer. She felt it dip down the inside of her leg, just outside of her lips, tip pressing in with a biting tease to her perineum that sent a deeper shudder through her body. Want mingled with fear, mingled with fuck, as it drew up, the point actually stroking her lips, Tori's mouth open wide, taking in the night air, the static of her head, now a roaring cataract flowing down her body and breaking on her clit like a Charybdis of desire. The steel trip traced a half circle around the left side of the hood and paused a moment. Can I finish the paragraph?
Yeah.
Letting the inevitability of sensation mingle with the urgency of arousal. Then his hand moved, and the sharp edge came with languid menace across her clit like Scylla's tongue.